All right, welcome everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Elevate. My name is Leslie Mitchell and I am the Assistant Director of Education. And I am so excited that you're here this morning, spending an hour of your time to fill your cup. I want to remind you that Elevate is a platform where we can grow, we can inspire and lead. Very exciting about our guest speaker this morning. You're going to hear a little bit more about it. I want to welcome you. Thank you so much. If this is your first time or your fifth year with us, we really want to say thank you for joining. I know it's a very busy time for Cupcake Head Start, and we are extremely proud of you. And I hope that this morning you're able to distress a little bit, be engaged in the conversation, and that you're able to take something in that is going to make you better and give you more skills in your position. We're so proud of you, and we are very elated that you're here with us at Elevate. I would like to pass it on to Maria Guadian, who is going to introduce us to today's speaker. Maria?
Thank you, Leslie. Good morning, everyone. So we are very excited and honored to have with us Mr. Jim Damian. He is a technology entrepreneur, two-time Ironman triathlon finisher, and Bakersfield's 2021 Business Person of the Year. Jim is a first-generation college graduate from Tehachapi, California, and holds an undergraduate degree from San Diego State University and a master's degree from the University of California, Berkeley. In 2005, after a short career in social welfare, Jim returned to the Central Valley and founded Stria. Stria, a 5-time Inc. 5000 honoree, is a digital transformation company that uses technology and continuous improvement to reduce the burdens associated with a variety of business processes. Jim is president-elect of the Rotary Club of Bakersfield, where he chairs the membership committee, serves on the Waterman Foundation board, and is a Paul Harris Fellow. Jim is chairperson of Stores Inc., and is active with the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce and California State University, Bakersfield. Jim resides in Bakersfield with his wife, Kelly Damian, an educator at Stockdale High School. Together, they have 2 daughters, Ruby Jane and Clara Marin. Please join me in welcoming Jim Damian.
Wow, thank you, Maria. That sounds great. Just a quick audio check. You guys can hear me okay, I'm assuming. If not, just chat. And I see all the applause you guys are hitting. Wow, Teams is tough, right? I wish we were all together. I'm sure we all do, but thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed the jazz music as we were getting set up. Maria, you made me sound important, so thank you. That's a great job. I'll try not to, disappoint. Leslie, thank you for teaming this up. And Traco, thanks for connecting us all and for saying hi this morning. Just really want to start out by saying thank you. I'm going to share a slide. We'll see if you all can see it. So you should see a slide. Yep. I'm not going to do a PowerPoint demo today, or death by PowerPoint as we sometimes call it, but I will share a few audio visuals, and maybe this will make my face smaller, so that's good. So in addition to thanking you for having me, I want to thank all of you at CapK, at First Five, at all the programs that you're overseeing. I want to thank you for the work you're doing. Because of you, our community is better. Because of you doing what you do and meeting people at their point of need, life is better for many folks. So I just thank you. I stand in admiration of your work and in gratitude of your work. So thank you. I'm going to share today, just for the next maybe 15 or 20 minutes, lessons that I've learned as a leader. And hopefully if they might make you laugh, might make you cry, might make you smile, but hopefully they'll make you think. And as Leslie said, fill up your cup a little bit. And my cup will certainly be filled up by just being able to share this space with you all today. So thank you for having me, and thank you for your work. You heard a couple things in the nice introduction that Maria read, but it also sounded like a few contradictions. So before you touch that radio dial and unplug, there are two things that may have stood out. You heard Maria talk about Ironman, which is a triathlon that's 140.6 miles. And you're looking at me going, this guy's kind of chubby. Did he really do an Ironman? This doesn't make sense. It's true. You were not having audio difficulties. I do those sorts of things. And yes, my according to the doctors, my body mass index is definitely a little too high. So what can I say? Walking contradiction. You also heard that I am a social worker turned entrepreneur. And that may sound like a contradiction. I think those two fields are incredibly related. But yes, I am a social worker turned entrepreneur. I'm not an entrepreneur who used to be a social worker. I'm a social worker who has turned into an entrepreneur. And I think those two worlds are more similar than not. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But what you might be interested in hearing is how I went from social worker to entrepreneur. So I'll spend a minute just sharing that with you. You can see on the title screen here, my talk is a case for tragic optimism and how months of silence made me suck less as a leader, really as a person. So if you came here to hear about, the answers to life and the answers to leadership, I'm sorry, I don't have those. I have some thoughts on them, but I don't have answers, unfortunately. But I promise you, if I find the answers, I'll come here first to elevate. So the path started for me in Tehachapi, fourth generation Tehachapi kid, was planning to be a fourth generation cement plant worker. After a few summers in the 110-degree sun in the cement plant there, decided college might be a better path for me. So broke the family tradition, became the first male in my family to go to college, went to San Diego State, studied psychology, and during that course started working in social service. I worked in child welfare, mostly some adult mental health, but I was working in group homes for children who were dependents of the state. And group homes for youth used to be, it's not as big now, was a huge industry. And for better or for worse, that's where I cut my teeth as a young social welfare worker in group homes in San Diego. Fell in love with public service and went to UC Berkeley to study social welfare. At UC Berkeley, they call it master's degree of social work, or MSW, in social welfare. So it's kind of confusing, but I have my MSW from UC Berkeley. And I started carrying cases, working in the industry, in child welfare, and loved it. So continued along that path, carrying cases in child welfare through grad school, out of grad school, and enjoyed my time as a social worker, but got really frustrated. And I know nobody on this call ever gets frustrated at work. I understand that. And certainly not at CapK, and certainly not with the employees. So I know you all are never frustrated, but I was frustrated as a social worker at times. And there's really two reasons. One was the paperwork. Okay, we had a lot of paperwork. I remember forms getting rejected from my manager because I signed in blue ink versus black ink. That was no joke. And so, I remember going into the file rooms and trying to find case files for dependents of the state and wards of the court to educate myself on my caseload. And I wouldn't be able to find the file, right? And we had some computerized systems, but they were clunky. I could go home and I could buy movie tickets and I could buy anything I wanted and find out any information in my personal life on the computer. But at work, the systems weren't great, really frustrating. So between the paperwork and what I considered to be clunky technology, I got frustrated and I decided to do something about it, right? In my true social work hat, put it on and learned about technology and started building technical systems to help me carry my cases. The county noticed, promoted me. I started building solutions for other social workers and other departments, and that took off a career in what I called social welfare technology. Did that for a few years in Alameda County. Worked there, and then decided to take that skill set and migrate from the public sector and my life as a social worker and a social work administrator to start a company where we would do the same exact thing for not just nonprofits and not just social service agencies, but for anybody in the world that wanted that that type of service. So I said, I'm frustrated. There's, too many obstacles. I'm going to go start my own company and create jobs. I felt like that was what I wanted to do. So went over, moved back to Bakersfield, started a company. It's called Stria. This is the company that I run today. We've been doing it for about 15 years, and we are a digital transformation company. So that sounds fancy. What do we do? We help organizations transform the way they do work, the way they manage data. So we take people who are entirely paper-based system, we'll help digitize their records. We'll help folks who are using computer technology. A lot of people have SharePoint and Excel and Salesforce and Dynamics and all these different platforms. Sometimes they need to be improved or modernized, and we help organizations do that. All from this one seed of, the original seed, right? The aha moment is me as a social worker going, I can't do my job efficiently because I don't have good tools and technology. So our goal now at Stria is to build and improve tools, technology, and processes that allow people to do their job easier. And what that really means is for organizations who are in healthcare to focus more on patients as opposed to computers. For people in social services to focus on customers and clients more than filling out forms online. So really just to try and make that part of people's jobs frictionless and easy. So we have about 110 employees here at Stria. 90% of them are here in Bakersfield. We've got some in Honolulu, some in Orange, some in Las Vegas. Every day we wake up and we try and make people's jobs a little bit easier by giving great technology that helps them transform the way they do work so they can spend more time on why they got into that industry. Because I remember as a social worker, I didn't get into that to fill out paperwork. I get in that to make lives and livelihoods, to help improve lives and livelihoods. So that's what we do at Stria, and it was that frustration that took me away from my social services job into private industry. And so I've been running this company for about 16 years. And I wish I could say I'm never frustrated. It's kind of worse. Sometimes at work, you feel frustrated with either your staff or the program. There's times where you might feel frustrated. Maybe not at CapK. You guys might not ever experience this, but occasionally I get frustrated, even still. And it's worse when you're the CEO because you have no one to blame. So I've spent a lot of years going, man, I can do whatever I want. I'm the boss. I'm in charge, And when things aren't going great, there's no one to blame. And I was going, I've been thinking, gosh, I'm in control of my own destiny. We have this great company. Why do I still feel frustrated? Sometimes it seems like there's not enough money. There's not enough time. There's not enough customers, or there's too many customers. Different things happen. There's employees and business partners, and there's things that happen that frustrate me. I thought I was building the perfect company that wouldn't have these problems. That's why I started this thing. So I've been plodding along, building a company. I think it's a great company. We provide a great service, good jobs, all the rest of it. Still feeling frustrated at times. And my life was interrupted. My life was interrupted in 2021 by a pretty serious health issue. And it led me on a journey that helped me discover this concept that I'm talking to you about of tragic optimism. Right. I assumed as a social worker, my frustrations were because I didn't have good tools, built the good tools, still had some frustrations, started this company with a blank canvas, ran it successfully, still have some frustrations. I'm searching for answers to all that. And boom, in early 2021, I felt a little bump in my mouth. Sorry, it's PG, but there's a little bit of, I'll try not to be too graphic. I felt a little bump in my mouth. And I went to the doctor and they said, did you see the sign on the door? And I said, yeah. They go, we're not a dentist, we're a doctor, please leave. So I left. I went to a dentist and he said, yeah, I don't see anything. It's a tiny little bump in like my inner cheek. I said, I don't know. It's growing, it's tiny, but it feels like less tiny. The doctor said, nah, I don't know. We'll take an x-ray. Anyway, took an x-ray. Said, maybe there's something. Went to another dentist. He says, yeah, you might have something. They tried to biopsy, couldn't. Finally, I went to like a third dentist here in town and said, look, something's going on. Can you tell me what it is? And she says, well, what have you been told? And I said, I haven't been told anything. I can't figure out. They go, the dentist, the doctor, right? She said, you have a mass in your jaw. It's huge. And, you need to go to a major metropolitan hospital and figure out what's going on. Nobody in this town's going to help you. So, that my ears perked up, and my frustrations with little things, quote unquote, at work got less. And I went into UCLA and they diagnosed me with something called an OKC, orthokeratonic cyst. It's like a little tumor. It was at the bottom of my jaw. And they said, you have a couple options here. We can bisect your face, cut you in half and put titanium, remove the cyst, the cyst had grown so big, it took the bone out, it took the nerve, everything was gone. And it's funny, I didn't feel any pain until they started doing biopsies. But anyway, they said you have two choices. We can remove your face and put titanium, or we can try and shrink this thing. And I said, well, then both doctors made a joke about, well, if we do remove your face, we'll tighten up your chin because you kind of have this double. And I said, well, and then they said, oh, we're just kidding, you don't need it. I'm like, yeah, thanks. I spent the last year and a half on Zoom. I know I need it, but thank you very much. I'll try and keep my face. So I made the decision to take an alternate route, which was, as you see on this x-ray here, you can see that what they did is they inserted these tubes, and these tubes were they went into the cyst and then into my mouth. So they were just kind of hanging out by my tongue, and there were these tubes about the size of a pencil. And they said that'll help the aerate the cyst, and they'll shrink, and maybe your bone will grow, and you'll save your jaw. We won't have to take your face apart and put in titanium. I said, well, let's try it. Well, we started trying it. You can see the breakdown here in the bottom right of the picture. You can see it's just really, there's no jaw there because the cyst took it over. Well, it didn't work. The jaw ended up breaking. And so what they did is they wired my jaw shut. Okay. Now, this was my worst nightmare because I love to eat and I talk for a living. In fact, I could talk like this for 8 hours. You guys could all leave. I'll still be talking. I love to hear myself talk. It's a terrible flaw in my character, but I had to get my jaw wired shut in the effort to save my face. It's not the greatest face, but it's my face, and I kind of wanted to keep it. So they wired me shut, so I couldn't move. I was talking like this. I couldn't talk. I couldn't eat solid foods, all with the hope that this bone would grow back. And that was wired shut, totally shut, locked in place for 4 months. I couldn't talk. I couldn't eat. I could mumble, kind of. Traco Matthews heard me mumble more than once, and it was painful to listen to. So I was silent, and people were nice, but I started to get, again, frustrated as a social worker, frustrated as an entrepreneur. And now I've got my jaw wired shut, and I was like, okay, great. People tried to be nice, and I started hearing a lot of interesting comments from friends and family, well-meaning people, who would tell me, this sucks. And I couldn't say anything back because I'm wired shut. They go, it's really a drag, but hey, at least it's not cancer. It could be worse. There was always hey, everything happens for a reason. Just stay positive. Part of God's plan. Luckily you still have your face. These things didn't make me feel better. They should have. I should have felt great, but I still was like, gosh, this is not great. What framework? How can I had a lot of time to think. I was silent for 4 months. I had a lot of time to read. And I came across a theory that I really like. Because, looking at my life, there's a lot of moments of frustration and adversity. I kind of have this pause, with my jaw. By the way, the program worked. Before I move on, this program worked. I'm 100% cured. So the wiring shut, the tubes, all the rest of it. It took a year, but I got to keep my face. Is that a victory? In a way. Like I said, I'm kind of attached to this thing, but it worked. So I'm 100% healthy now, but it took a year, and it took 4 months of silence. And during that 4 months, I came across a concept called tragic optimism. And I really like this. And I've used it as a lens recently, and I thought I'd share it with you today. The idea is that it was come up with by this doctor, Viktor Frankl, and he was a neurologist and came up with logotherapy. But one of the concepts that he published in really later in his life, it was like in the 80s, was that this is similar to what you'll read in Buddhism. There's Christian philosophies. There's a lot of philosophies that hover around this concept. So it's not brand new. It was kind of new to me, and it helps me a lot. So I thought I'd share it with you. So tragic optimism is this idea that, even though we say, hey, everything happens for a reason, maybe it doesn't. I promise you, you and your staff, when you go to deliver services and meet people where they are, with food, with shelter, with education, with child services, I don't think anybody's saying, everything happens for a reason. You'll be okay. I certainly, when I was a social worker and I was when I was intervening in family problems and dysfunctions, I never felt good saying, hey, everything happens for a reason. sorry, your parents burned you with a cigarette, but hey, it could be worse. I mean, that just doesn't work in any situation, although we say it a lot. So this idea that Dr. Frankl came up with is that, life is pretty tough. In fact, he had this concept of what he called the tragic triad. Pretty depressing. He says life is really mostly filled with pain, guilt, and then death. But in spite of that, I mean, it sounds terrible, but in spite of that, there is joy in life. We find it, or rather it finds us. So tragic optimism is the idea that in spite of tragedy, in spite of broken jaws, in spite of pandemics, in spite of systems that don't work, in spite of mistakes and frustrations, life is some way, somehow still worth going through and still worth moving through. And that there are these moments of joy, and that maybe the best thing we can do in any given situation is find the best thing we can find, which would be meaning or purpose. So I really like that. So for me, looking back as a social worker, finding meaning in my time there, in spite of frustrations, really, really is a nice lens to look back on that experience through. And as a CEO of a company, every day when you're in charge, you all here are leaders, and when all you get is problems. Things that are working well, you don't need to get involved with. And Cap K as an organization, if life was perfect, there wouldn't exist. And so the idea of tragic optimism is really around finding finding meaning in spite of this triad that's difficulty. And the triad that Frankl tells us about is pain, guilt, and death. Sounds horrible, but we still want to go live life and do things. So that's the tragic optimism that's been useful to me. And it's helped me frame adversity in my life in a more positive and constructive way, with the pandemic, with the jaw, with all the things that we all deal with. Maybe the best thing we can do is find meaning as we go through those things. And by the way, if life was perfect, if it was a utopian society, I'm not sure that would be much better. Somebody looked into this. They didn't do it with humans, but there was this experiment in the 60s called Universe 25. And this really interesting doctor, he's a behavioral researcher called John Calhoun, created this experiment called Universe 25. And he put 4 mice in a mouse utopia. All the food, all the water, perfect ambient temperature. It was nirvana for mice. They had no predators. They had all the food, all the water, all the shelter, everything they could ever want. 0 problems. It was perfect. There was no triad. There was no, Frankl triad of, suffering, death, and misery. It was purely nirvana. And so it ran for a couple years, but it didn't work out well. Interestingly enough, and you can research this, it's kind of like this vortex that I've gotten sucked into. I've read about this Universe 25 research quite a bit, and it ended really badly after, a couple years of reproducing and more mice and no problems, no disease, everything's perfect. These mice started killing each other. And, it led to the total destruction of the colony. They ended up having to take a few mice out and put them in other colonies, but all the other mice died. They killed each other. And it became very dysfunctional and very horrible. There were no problems. There was no predators. There was plenty of food, plenty of water, plenty of everything. But without some adversity, without some problems, without some conflict, there was no meaning. And also it got overcrowded. So this work has not just led to the idea of, adversity plays a role in the human existence and in all existence and is maybe necessary. The idea is change the way we think about overpopulations, to change the way we think about a lot of other things. But for me, this idea that nirvana or utopia would be better here on Earth, it's not an option, and maybe that's okay. There's a spectrum, right? Perfection is on one end, utopia is on one end, and a total absence of needed resources on the other. So I'm not saying it's great that we have these problems. It's not. It's terrible that we have these problems. It's unavoidable that it's terrible. So what do we do? Knowing utopia is not only not possible, probably not wanted, what do we do? And for me, what I try and do and what feels useful, not perfect, not great, but feels useful. And as the title slide said, maybe it allows me to suck less as a leader, as a dad, as a husband, is to look at some of these things through this lens of tragic optimism. And again, that really is this notion that there is no escaping bad things in life. Bad things will happen. Maybe it's a pandemic. Maybe it's a broken job. Maybe it's a budget cut. Maybe it's an abusive parent that of your own or of your caseload or of your staff, or there are problems. There are mistakes. It's tough. However, despite this, there are things of beauty that come along. There are things of beauty that transpire in the work you do every day with families, with children, with adults, meeting people where they are, with food, with shelter, with resources. I mean, that's the beauty. So in spite of all the problems we wish that weren't there, there are these beautiful moments. And so what I try and do as a leader is I acknowledge things are tough. And as leaders, I encourage you to acknowledge that with your staff. Your staff are struggling with that, project or that computer system or that form or that, that hang up or that tone or whatever. Acknowledge that. Meet them where they are too. I find that useful for me. And say yes anyway. In spite of the problems, say yes to the program, say yes to the staff, say yes to the adventure that is life, and look for meaning. I find looking for meaning, and in some cases, making up meaning is useful. And the subconcept to this thought of tragic optimism is looking at joy as a byproduct of our search for meaning. We look for meaning, and joy strikes us. You try and look for happiness, you try and look for joy, boy, it's slippery. But every now and then, throughout the day, there are moments of joy. It's that service you provided. It's that cup of coffee. It's that cool interaction. It's that amazing keynote speaker at 8:30 in the morning on a Thursday over Teams. No, I'm just kidding. The joy of this one might be, hey, it ends early. Thank you, Lord. No, that's a joke. Maybe there's laughing, maybe there's not. But you get the idea that we can work on finding meaning in spite of all the difficulties of life. And then, of course, the final act of goodness is trying to lessen the impact of this triad, right? And I'm so in awe and so inspired by the work that Cap K does, because you are there. You are lessening the impact of this triad. It doesn't get any more black and white. Hungry people getting food, folks without shelter getting shelter, families without education getting education. I mean, this is where the rubber meets the road. And so I stand in awe, and everyone on here could probably give an inspirational leadership talk based on the work you all are doing. So I'm grateful for you, and I appreciate the chance to share my musings. And I think I would just, my call to action to you today is lean in and know you and your people, your staff and your customers, your clients, your caseloads, they know life is tough. And they probably know not everything happens for a reason. This neighborhood doesn't have, a school that is adequate. There's no way we're going to look at each other as mature adults and say, it happened for a reason. No, we're going to try and fix it. So that work, that mission, that calling that you're on is going to lead to good things in your life, and inspiring yourselves and your staff to keep going is just my call to action. And you're already doing it. And so, my real call is hear me as we say thank you on behalf of the community for the work you do. We've got plenty of time for Q&A. I didn't want to bore anybody with death by PowerPoint, but that's how a little tale of how I went from entrepreneur, how I migrated from social work to entrepreneur, and why this concept of tragic optimism seems to be useful to me in my day-to-day life as a CEO, as a leader, as a husband. As a social worker, doing something very different, which is running a private for-profit company. But anyway, I want to introduce that concept. And I think now what I do, if it's okay, is just hit stop. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. We're a little ahead of schedule, so we've got plenty of time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So everyone, if you have any questions for Jim, this is a great time to, put it on the chat, or feel welcome to unmute yourself and ask some questions. I was truly in awe about your experiences, and there is a little bit of questions and insight of an interest in your Ironman races. They want to know a little bit about what is your favorite race. Maybe you can expand a little bit also and maybe share an analogy about what it takes to be an Ironman and maybe relate it a little bit into leadership.
That's a good question. So for me, the way I got into it is I was inspired by some successful people that have done it, and I said, well, if they can do it, and I look up to these people, maybe it's worth looking into. So I started on that journey at 39 years old, weighing about 300 pounds, and saw bad things in my future if I stayed in a sedentary life, and I hadn't done any exercise really vigorously since high school. I was a high school athlete and pushed pause button for a year or two, and next thing I know, I'm 39. So downloaded training plans and books and started with a 5K in Tehachapi. Thought I was going to die. Did it and just kind of started doing more 5Ks and then some swimming and some biking. And the thing about triathlon that I find beautiful, and it's the same thing I liked about social work. It's the same thing, if I'm being honest, I like about the entrepreneurial life. It's a grind. It's just a grind, and there's something noble and there's something good, good feelings about getting into a really hard situation and pushing through. So for me, it's very rewarding to go, out and try and create a company from nothing. It was rewarding to carry caseloads, and it was rewarding to go, hey, can I do this? 140.6 miles? No way. You go, well, a little bit of training every day. And so I had a trainer, and I downloaded millions of articles and books and everything like that. And have done a lot of triathlons, 2 full Ironman triathlons, 1 in Florida, 1 in Louisville, and a lot of little races around the state. So I love it. It's my stress reliever. I had to push pause for a year with the jaw. The doctor told me you can't do it. If you fall, we take your face. And so I had to stop. And I'm starting back up again. And boy, that's humbling too, because if you exercise and then you stop for a few months, it's very humbling. You start back up. But, again, it's tragic optimism, right? Embrace the suck and go, hey, this is it's a grind, but there's something beautiful about it. And it's hard to put your finger on, but on a run or a swim or a bike ride, it sucks. But there's always that moment. It's a moment that just is joy. I don't know why, I don't know where it comes from, but in the suffering comes some joy, and that's life. And so that's as a leaders, I think that's what we have to look for. Is leadership is hard. Most of the time it's not that fun. It's mostly problems. The things that are working great don't come to you. The staff that don't have problems don't come to you. The families that don't have problems don't come to you. The stuff that's broken hits your radar. And that's where, the moments of joy will find you, but it's hard. And triathlons are hard too, but boy, they're fun. And these medals are all behind me. I set these up before life went to Zoom and Teams, so I'm not bragging. Well, okay, I am bragging. I could move them. It's a humble brag, but that's, to me, that's similar to leadership in a business, is just plotting a course and getting it done. So I really love it.
Yeah, and talking about, the hardship and the struggles of getting back into the grind of exercising. Tell us a little bit more about the training and endurance and how you felt about accomplishing an Ironman. Not a lot of people get to do that, so it's a big accomplishment.
Well, in a sense, it is. I'm fortunate in that I had the time and the family support to go, yeah, you can go work out for 4 hours on a Saturday. So that was, I appreciated that. Your question, sorry, Leslie, your question was what?
Yeah, when you're, the training that it takes, the endurance, the motivation, but how did you feel also accomplishing that goal?
Well, one of the things about leadership that you, Leslie, and everybody on the call knows, it's kind of fuzzy. You don't know if that program, that work, is it going to really pay dividends long term. That day, boy, you give someone a bus voucher, they can take the bus. That's good. A meal, that's good. But you don't know if, is that going to solve or lessen the systemic problem we're here to fight? I don't know. And, is Stria going to change the economy in Kern County? I hope so. Ask me in 20 years if it was successful, and I'll tell you. The beauty of endurance athletics, like the Ironman, is that there's no fuzzy math. You're going to go run a 5K. You either did it or you didn't. if you have a time goal, you either did it or you either hit it or you didn't. So there's no ambiguity. You show up, you go do the thing, and you either did it or you don't. And so it's very satisfying to go, hey, I put that out there, I did it. And that could just be one run. I mean, everyone on this call can go, you know what? I'm going to go walk a mile today or 2 miles, whatever your comfort level is, a little bit beyond that. And you're going to go do it. You either did it or you didn't. And you're going to feel great, if you did it. And if you didn't, you're going to feel bummed out, and then you might do it tomorrow. So for me, just the pure, simple, true or false, pass or fail nature of the events was really gratifying because it stands in contrast to so much of modern life where it's fuzzy and it may take years for the trees we plant to bear fruit. So that's one of the things I like about it. And it's a long-term commitment. It takes a year to get ready for an Ironman. So if any of you are thinking, all right, I'm going to do it, it'll take a year. But you could start today. I know it sounds crazy, but get your doctor's advice. Okay, I'm not a doctor. Anyone can do it. And it's just a matter of a little bit of training every day. And it just, increases over the course of a year and you're done. But start with something small, definitely.
Awesome.
And there was a question that somebody put on here about do you feel inspired to share your vision with your team? I'm an open book. Everybody in the company knows a lot about me. I lead with total transparency. At our company, there's very few surprises about what's going on with me and with my leadership. We practice open book financials, so all of our managers read our profit and loss statement. We all know what each other make. So I'm pretty transparent. There's not a lot of secrets around here. My walls are very thin, and probably people are hearing this whole speech right now. So yeah, I do feel compelled to share. I think authenticity is a very important part of leadership. And so lead from a place of authenticity, I think, is a really good thought. There was another question here. Do you ever become overwhelmed? Oh man. Yes. Every day there's a moment of being overwhelmed. How do I reset myself? That's great. I wish I could say it's getting less. I'm a very anxious person. I suffer from serious anxiety at times. It's terrible. I feel overwhelmed a lot. I've mortgaged my house, my car, everything else to create this company. And boy, you get a call, something's not going right. God, it's stressful. Just like, the phone ringing when I was a direct practice social worker. Little Johnny, you let him go to his uncle's house. Guess what? We can't find him and the uncle. They've been gone a week. What background check did you do? Wait, background check? I mean, yeah, I feel overwhelmed all the time. I try to do my triathloning. I try to meditate. I try to practice the mindfulness and incorporate this notion of tragic optimism, because I hate to tell you, I'm older than probably a lot of people on this call. There's no secret. And the more money and more everything, it doesn't get a lot better. It gets a little better. You got to have your basics. But yeah, stress and anxiety and overwhelming in these other parts of this Frankel triad. I mean, he said life is mostly suffering, anxiety, and death. It's terrible, but it's kind of true. So I just try and hold on to those little moments of joy that come find me, as I'm open to them. Like right now, I feel connected to you all. This is the most joyous moment of my week so far, just being in this space with you all, and that's the fact. So pushing myself into do new things helps, and just trying to meditate and center helps. But there's no secret. There's no, I've never had a week where I just didn't have some anxiety and some overwhelmed feeling. And so you look for the beauty, and you just try and remind yourself it's worth it. Why? I don't know, but there's a beautiful moment around the corner. So hopefully that answers that question but yes, I won these awards. I've got Ironman medals. I mean, even the city, the Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce, Jim Damian, Business Person of the Year. I made it. Boy, I did not feel like I made it. I feel like I am, you feel like, God, if anybody finds out what kind of business person I really am, man, they're gonna take this award back. I have it right up here. It's like black and white. I don't feel like I'm business person of the year. No way. But people think of you in a nice way. It's a joyous moment to be thought of in that way. I don't think of myself in that way. I think of myself as a chubby guy who will never do an Ironman, and as a mediocre guy who is a social worker trying to put a business together. And that's depressing at times. But to me, taking that lens of tragic optimism, you go, hey, there's beauty, there's joy. And so that's what I try and stay open to.
Awesome.
Vanessa Navarez says the hardest part is starting. Yeah, amen to that, sister.
Yeah, we are very inspired with your conversation. I think like one of the things that I'm getting so much out of it is how frustration became something that, you know, ignited you to find solutions. And from solutions, these solutions and the pondering that you did and reflecting on where you were at that point in your life, then you were able to make change. And, you know, it didn't come easy. You know, we hear all the little bumps on the road that you had, but one of the things that I loved about what you said is that in spite of tragedy, life is worth moving through. And, you know, it's sad when, you know, we are behind a screen and when we before we're able to get together and, you know, slowly we're getting back into the things, but it's hard engaging with people. And sometimes, you know, anxiety comes in place and also depression. There's a lot of things when you are not socializing and communicating with people. And as a CEO, I wanted to ask you, what keeps your employees happy in your opinion?
um, oh, that's a great question. I find our employees to be happiest when they have reasonable expectations, right? So they have enough time and resources to do the work that's expected. Really important. So reasonable expectations, and I'm notorious for not doing that, so I have to be careful. So reasonable expectations are very important. Acknowledging that things are hard, you know, acknowledging that things are hard at home. Everybody's got something going on at home with COVID or with a child or with a pet. I mean, nobody's got the perfect life. Acknowledging that people show up, how they show up, it helps people feel comfortable here. I mean, we're not the highest paying company in town, especially in tech. It's tough. We compete with a lot of deep pocketed folks in and out of town. So we look at happiness and we say people want autonomy. People want reasonable expectations. They want to be thanked for what they do. They want somebody to care and to try and make things better, right? So just like at Cap K, how you're making things better for your constituents and your teams, we try and do the same thing here, slightly different methods, but you know, those are the things that we try and focus on. And that's why I say social work and leadership and entrepreneurship, they're all similar, right? You know, the social work code of ethics, right? One of the fundamental precepts is the right to self-determination. People want freedom to do what they want to do. They want some rules, they want some guidance, but people want to be free, man. And so the more we can give people autonomy at work, the more choices we can make, you know, available to them, just like with your constituents, you know, in your programs, people are happier when they can decide what they want to do. So to me, that's the beauty of social work and entrepreneurialism. They're the same thing. They're different sides of the same coin. It's about, you know, the right to self-determination. So that's what employees want too. And that's, as leaders, we got to keep that in mind.
Love that. I think I have somebody with their hand raised. Yolanda, go ahead, Yolanda.
Good morning, and good morning, Jim. Wow, what an amazing story. I'm Yolanda, and I'm the director of the program, and I just want to say thank you for being here this morning. A couple of things for me this morning is that I just want to say, wow, again, what an amazing journey. And I was reminded this morning about two things, and as you were sharing your story, is that and inspiring, because I just want to say thank you for inspiring us this morning. A couple of things, two quotes that I've always remembered, even in those times as leaders where, as you stated, you know, do we feel frustrated? Absolutely. Sometimes more than others, you know, and so, but there's a couple that I wanted to share this morning. It says that even in the chaos of everyday life, moments of gratitude remind us to hold on to the good times and to the joy. And sometimes that's hard to do, right, as leaders, but it's also a reminder. The one that I really, really love is that gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. And that to me is, you know, I see that your trials and through your tribulations, it created an amazing vision for tomorrow for you. And I just want to commend you and say thank you for sharing your story. And wow, I see you as a hero. And I think that that's so inspirational. And so I just wanted to share that it's, as you've said, it's just those things that um, can change our lives. And one other thing that I wanted to say is that, it's those tiny habits that makes a difference in time. You shared how it took a year, but I think that that's always something to remember. It's just those little tiny habits. Nothing happens overnight. And those little things, and even as leaders, we try to grow into these leaders that are inspiring leaders, but it doesn't happen overnight. So just a word of encouragement to everyone. But I just want to say thank you so much for your story. What an amazing, amazing story. Thank you.
Oh, Yolanda, thank you for saying that. And it's my pleasure to be with you. And thank you for your leadership and the good works that you and your team are doing. It's I feel equally inspired just being with you all. So yeah, thank you. Great quotes too. I like that. That gratitude concept just is so huge. I mean, we could talk for hours on that. So yeah,
Yes.
thank you, Yolanda.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, and so one of the questions that I have for you, listening to your story and talking about bumps in the road and obstacles in the road, and speaking about adversity, how do you motivate people in your company to go the extra mile? No pun intended.
It's tough to motivate the extra mile. To me, I mean, there's short term and long term, right? Short term, you can say, thou shalt do this. I sign your paycheck. Thou will do this, right? And people will do that a few times and then they leave, right? So that I've tried everything, and most of the stuff I've tried hasn't worked. I think people want recognition for what they do. They want to know a leader hears the problems, recognizes there's problems, and has a plan to fix them. So for me, motivating the team is painting that vision. Guys, here's where we're going. Because in the day-to-day work, it's easy to get bogged down. All right, we're scanning a warehouse full of paper. Okay, great. My job is entry level to pull staples out of those papers, scan them in so that this school district can look up Johnny's file. I mean, that could sound like a prison sentence. So for me, the two sides of the motivation coin are, one, giving people the freedom and the autonomy, right, to have some amount of freedom and autonomy in how they do their work, but also painting that vision. My dream is that every single employee at Stria, if you say, what's your job? My dream, I will feel satisfied, finally, not really, but maybe, if everyone were to answer the question when they say, what's your job? My job is to positively impact lives and livelihoods. That's what we want to do. So no, you're not scanning a piece of paper. You're creating a solution so that if somebody needs to look up John Doe's file, they can find it. And that's the world. So painting that picture of, hey, lives and livelihoods, and it's unique in our business at CapK. Boy, you guys are, living and breathing that world. But to me, it's about, motivation comes internally, and it comes from finding the right people who will subscribe to that vision and go, yeah, let's go climb that mountain together. But we've experimented with, lots of different rewards, financial and gift cards, and some of them work, some of them don't. People tend to show up and be motivated when they have some autonomy and when they see the big picture and go, yeah, okay, I can get behind that. Especially now, every single employee can change jobs for a nickel more tomorrow at CapK, Stria, any company. So it's about the vision and about being, who your boss is and how they lead.
Oh, I agree 100%. That's awesome. I really love those key points that you're talking about. Internal motivation as well, and giving people autonomy. When it comes to this, you're talking about painting a vision and, displaying that motivation to your employees. What are some great ways of listening to your employees?
For me, that goes back to the social work skill, right? And you all on this call have it, and your teams have it. The key to, it's active listening, right? I mean, these are the really understanding where people are coming from. I mean, it's simple. It's hearing them and knowing they show up, how they show up, and listening and not trying to argue, right? So for me, active listening, reiterating, repeating back, acknowledging. I mean, these are the skills you all and your teams are masters at, right? And you'd be amazed, especially those of you who have not worked in a, for-profit or private company. That's not the commonplace. It's common probably capcated. Oh yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that does suck. You're right. It's terrible. A lot of companies, the leadership style is, yeah, and your job is to do ABC. I get it. You got this problem, but your job is ABC. It's not the greatest answer. I mean, it's true. We all have jobs to do. But for me, listening is so important. And, for me, it's listening, repeating back, articulating, creating that safe space where people feel comfortable. I mean, that's social work 101. So that's the skill that probably served me better as an entrepreneur. But it gets me into trouble too, because, sometimes you can spend a lot of time and leave a meeting, and I let it like a group therapy session. And, that's not always great for your profitability and the mission. So listening, being clear, making decisions, those are things that are important. But active listening and, acknowledging and really trying to understand the other person's perspectives is key, whether it's an employee or a business partner.
Yeah, awesome. We have really great comments complimenting you this morning. So you're filling everybody's cup this morning. I'm really excited about that. I think I'm just elated. I don't know. I don't think I told you this, but CapK Head Start is going through a major review next week. And a lot of the things that you talked about today were very inspirational without you knowing what we're going through. There's times that, we feel stressed out and there's a lot of anxiety. But we've been running a marathon for the past, 4 years. We're going into our 5th, I think, next year. And we get these reviews, throughout those 5 years. And so last year and this year, we have 2 major reviews, and we have been prepping for them. But I don't think, actually, I think that this talk you had with us was so instrumental without even letting you know what's going on with us, but very inspiring. Even the analogies of running a race, being determined, endurance, and finishing it, and having that pride of actually working so hard and ending with a great, all the achievements. And so I am so thankful. I feel very inspired. I think you gave us a lot of great tips. And I appreciate you giving us the time to ask you some really thoughtful questions. So we are so thankful for you. I am so happy that, that Robin was able to get me plugged in with you. And I know Traco tells me great things about you. And so I hope that, our partnership continues, and we would love to have you again soon. So on behalf of CapK Head Start and all our CapK departments, we really want to thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for what you all are doing for the community. And I just really appreciate and enjoy being in your presence and in your space this morning. So thank you. Have an awesome day, and we'll all stay connected. You have my contact info. If anybody's got questions or criticisms or anything, feel free to email me. Happy to take those. So thank you so much to all of you for having me. And thank you, Leslie, for facilitating this great morning.
Thank you so much. Hope to see you soon.
For sure.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. All right. So we are going to move on to gratitude. And so I'm going to see if I can share my screen one more time. And let me get a little bit of our PowerPoint here back. I hope that you had an awesome morning with Jim. He had so many great things to share this morning. So we had our reflection and questions, and now we are going to, it's been a tradition with us at Elevate to make sure that we pause and we have some gratitude to all of us working for CapK. And I know that a lot of us are here. I'm so excited to see people from HR and payroll joining us this morning. We're so thankful for all our site supervisors that are taking time to come in. And for those that haven't been able to join us, we will have a recording for you. But we want to say thank you for everyone here. We had a really high attendance number. We had about 108 people today, so we're very thankful for that. But I really want to give the time to our director, Yolanda Gonzalez. Oh, Carolyn, did you have a question before I move on?
I don't have a question, but we're talking about gratitude, Leslie, and I wasn't able to get my shout outs in this month. And so when we're talking about gratitude and, looking for meaning and joy and all of the great things that he talked about today and preparing for this review, I just want to tell everybody on this call, thank you so much for everything that you've done. It really does take a village. And I'm, extremely proud of our team and all of the hard work. So thank you guys so much. We're going to do very well in this review.
Thank you. Thank you, Carolyn. I appreciate that. And, it's so cool to see our HR department and our payroll department here today, and a lot of other departments, finance, fiscal, everyone. You guys are all part of this amazing CAP-K Head Start team as well. You make us better, and we really appreciate you supporting us through this amazing review we're about to have. So I am going to give the platform to our boss, Yolanda Gonzalez. And I know that it would be really nice to hear some words of encouragement for our week next week. Yolanda?
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you so much. I was so just overwhelmed this morning with our keynote. Just amazing words of wisdom. As I was thinking about this, I looked at the definition of courage is strength in the face of pain or grief. And sometimes, and we know that, we do go through those times of grief, we go through those times of pain, but wow, I believe that really inspires us to even be better. And so this was just amazing. So thank you. And as always, I always just want to say thank you all so much for all the work that you do. I mean, as Carolyn said, I want to say thank you. We've been getting ready for this review, but I am always so proud as your director to know that you all do amazing work. And so this review is always, as I've said, it's a time for us to just show our visitors the wonderful things that we do, because you all do such amazing things. And so that's what it's about. It's about talking to them and letting them know how we are really making a difference in the lives of families in our community. And it takes a village, as Carolyn said. It takes all of us. It takes every single one of us in every department to help and to support one another so that we can accomplish those goals that we set before us. And the goal is to really make that difference, not just in the lives of families and children, but in our own lives. And so, we're here to support one another. And the one thing I just want to say is, as we get ready to start Tuesday morning for our review, I want to just want to say thank you to all of the departments, HR, finance, all of the departments that are here to help us as well, because we couldn't do this without you. And then lastly, I just want to say that, again, I'm always at all with all of your support and all of your knowledge, and for all of the work that you do. And just remember that you are heroes. You are the real heroes out there. And one last thing I wanted to say is that you have my commitment, and I've said this, and not just my commitment, but I know it's the commitment of our leadership to make a difference and to make those things change. As Jim stated, is that, it's important to allow our staff to have a voice. And I truly, truly believe that, because we are only better when we allow others to share their ideas. And just a word of, wisdom is that when someone's sharing, an idea, let's not be so quick to say, oh, we can't do that. Oh, no, we're not doing that. We're not allowed to do that. Let's just sit and listen, and let's think about, is there a way that we can make this happen? And is there a way that we can make that change? Because change is tough, change is hard. But I believe that when we take the time to listen and to, really brainstorm, can we make that change? And can we come together and come up with a different way of doing things? And I believe that we can. And I used to remember, Jerry used to say, is that, we need a team that has an attitude that I can. And that's what it is yes, we can. We can make anything happen if we all put our minds to it and we put our strength to it. And we're an amazing team. So just want to thank you all so much again for all your work. And I know that we're going to have a wonderful review next week, and we will celebrate, because I like to celebrate our wins as well. So thank you, and thank you, Leslie, for this morning, and for just his amazing keynote. And I'm just walking away this morning with great gratitude and inspired this morning. And so I want to say, I hope that all of you have been inspired, And thank you. And yay, it's Thursday and tomorrow's Friday. And then you have a 3-day weekend. Enjoy, be safe, take care, and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, Leslie. Bye, everyone. We'll see ya. And all right, thank you.
Thank you. And I see Leah, you have your hand up.
I just want to say thank you. Everything was so wonderful and very encouraging. And to those people that this is your first review, you have everything you've been doing and in you to get through this. So enjoy the joy and going through it, because there's a lot of new people that have expressed, oh, I'm so nervous, I'm so this. And I always say, relax. Everything you have in you already is there for you just to tell them, this is what I do. Show them this is what I do. So be encouraged and know that you can make it through this review. And once you get through it, find the joy, find the peace, and pat yourself on the back and you know, be grateful.
That's right. And just be you, because again, Leah, you are right. You're already doing wonderful work and you're just going to share what you're doing. So be you. You're amazing. You're wonderful. And we're going to get through this and it's going to be yay, celebration.
Thank you. That is very sweet. I appreciate that encouragement, Leah. It's very nice of you. I also want to take the time to thank our line staff. I know that a lot of supervisors are here today, and I just want to say thank you for, being open to all our education support services and management that have been visiting your sites. I know it's a lot, but the collaboration that we have with you is going to make this program better. So we appreciate you all. I also want to take the time to thank all our managers and administrators. You guys are doing an amazing job, and I really want to say thank you. A lot of people do a lot of things behind the scenes, and we appreciate all the hard work. Sylvia, thank you so much for all the scheduling and all the awesome things that you're doing. We're really excited and proud of you and your team. And I don't know, I think I saw Jerry here. Jerry, is there anything that you want to add in the spirit of gratitude?
I can only echo what everyone's been saying. I'm totally touched and thrilled with the message that we received today. And I am so appreciative of each and every one that we have the opportunity to work with to make this program the success that it is. I know that there are new individuals that might be a little stressed out, as Leah said, but just remember that we have an amazing program. We do great work, and this is our opportunity to brag. I am truly humbled each and every day to work with such an amazing group of individuals that come together when the going is tough and we make things work, and it's all for the betterment of the children and families that we serve in our community. Together, we've been able to successfully create systems and processes to continue working towards our mission and goals throughout the last 2 years of a global pandemic. If that's not a tremendous accomplishment, I don't know what it is. And through that, we've all experienced our own personal and individual issues and needs, having to deal with the unknowns of a global pandemic, but we've made it work. And we've done that together as a team. And together we will have a successful review next week. So thank you to everyone. And truly, if you have any fears at all about next week, just know that you will be fine. It's going to be fantastic. So thank you. And thank you, Leslie, for this amazing program today. It's really amazing to sit here each and every time we have our Elevate meetings. I walk away going, this is so awesome. And I just have to take my hat off to you for always just facilitating such an amazing meeting. Every single Elevate has just been exceptional. So thank you guys and have a wonderful weekend. And the one thing that this 3-day weekend includes, Payday Friday. So we'll talk to you all later. Take care.
Thank you. And don't forget Valentine's Day too. That's a plus. That was very sweet. Thank you so much, Jerry, for your encouragement. I wanted to give the floor to Gloria. I think she might be busy at this time, but I do want to say thank you to our partnership, home-based programs, and also San Joaquin for joining us today as well. We're so excited. Big changes happening in March, and so I'm really looking forward to amazing things coming up. So I'm going to give the floor now to Alan, and he is going to talk to you about our celebrations, shout outs, and anniversaries. Alan?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I have the song queued as we've been doing this the last few times. All right, so we actually have a lot of birthdays that came in for February. So Miss Rosa Del Toro is gonna have a birthday, or has had a birthday in February. Rashi Struther as well. Myra Martinez, Yolanda Lopez, Elsa Navarrete, Maria Martinez from Home Base, and Nicole Callahan from the partnership. So I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think that's the second. I think they're in the second place for the month with the most birthdays. So happy birthday to all of them. I hope and wish nothing but the best for you, and hope for many, many more years as well. All right. All right. I do have a few shout outs. Well, actually one, but it's a very important one. On behalf of Sylvia and the administration team, they would like to express their sincere gratitude for all the hard work and the commitment in the preparation for our upcoming FA2 review. Thank you for all that you do and everything that you have done to help our program succeed time and time again. I mean, everyone on this call has been doing everything from visiting sites, reviewing files, training, challenges, coming up with innovative solutions. I mean, I know it's extremely exhausting, but again, we do all thank you so much for the hard work. Now, we're going to move on to anniversary dates. So for February's anniversaries, actually I feel like is a really special one. I feel that we have awesome staff all around, but we do have an elite crowd, I feel like, on this. So we do have Mr. Paulino, who actually in February would have 8 years with the agency. So, Mr. Paulino, 8 long years, countless families that you've helped. I know that you started off as a FSW and made your way into BPN. So, thank you for all the work that you've done. We have Miss Regina, who is 17 years in. 17 years, oh my goodness. 17 years is a lot of good work. A lot of families helped. A lot of staff helped. You know, Ms. Regina is currently a mentor coach and is helping in that capacity right now. But I know that she's helped many, many people. We can't even keep track. Miss Carolyn Coffey, my boss, she actually has 22 years with the agency in February. So 22. Carolyn, thank you for giving me grace. Thank you for supporting me and letting me talk it out at times. I really do appreciate that, and thank you for always advocating for our team as well. I know most of the time that's done in the background, but I do appreciate everything that you do for us. We do have Miss Allie. Miss Allie has 24 years with the agency. 24. That's your Kobe year. Oh my goodness, 24 years. She's also a mentor coach. Again, I know that she used to work at the centers and now is doing it in a different capacity. So again, 24 years, that's a lot of families helped. That's a lot of good work done. And I'm sure countless lives that you've changed as well. Last but not least, I did want to take some extra time and really acknowledge Miss Leah Green. She actually has 39 years with the agency this month. And that in itself, oh my goodness. I mean, I've heard countless stories, both from Leah and from other people about how creative and innovative she has been. 39 years. Oh my goodness, Miss Leah. I mean, that is amazing. I think we can all agree when we say we hope that we can continue with that commitment and supporting the family, supporting the programs. I think from my understanding, you were one of the founders, you know? So that's a lot of good work. Thank you so much, Miss Leah, for everything that you've collaborated with me, have helped me, and all the families. So with that, that was everyone for February. So again, the next meeting for Elevate will be March 10th. And always remember to always surround yourself with people that inspire you and elevate you. Okay, so we'll see you in March. Everyone have a good review next week. And thank you for everything that you do. Thank you, everyone.